Hello again, and welcome back to Bubba Talks Wrestling Podcast. Our second episode. It has been a hot minute since I've done another one. I apologize to anybody who has been watching. I've noticed I've gotten a few views. Want to say thank you to that. If you do like it, hit subscribe, follow. I am in the process of getting an actual setup for all of this, so I do apologize if it looks a little bit grimy for you. Maybe just pay attention to the words until we get our setup completely done. But I still want to get out there and talk to you guys because it is WrestleMania season. Peak go home episodes coming up, so I still want to talk to you guys. Still want to get the stuff out there, see what you think, tell you what I think, and just keep you updated if you haven't been able to watch it. So I apologize again. We're a few days behind, but here we go. First thing, Wednesday we did get a okay Dynamite, pretty decent Dynamite. A couple things that we were probably hoping we would get that we didn't. For example, the whole reason why the Young Bucks would have been the reason to interrupt the championship match at the pay-per-view between Strickland and Moxley, two people they had nothing to do with when they were leaving, and really didn't get quite the answer I think I was hoping for. I don't know how the rest of you felt, but they were basically saying that it was a favor to Hangman Adam Page. And it just didn't make sense to me or anybody else, really, in my opinion. And, you know, God bless him, Kenny Omega tried to come out and save the day. But as much as I am a Kenny Omega fan, his strong suit is definitely his ring work, not promo work. But to his defense, that is what happens in a lot of the cases when talent grows up in the business in a foreign country, because it is so different from an American wrestling where promos, it's the heavy lifter. You have to be great at promos in order to be a megastar in America in professional wrestling. In Mexico and in New Japan and all over the world, you know, it's not the same. They could care less if you can talk crap. Can you get in the ring and can you perform? So to his detriment, you know, it's kind of, he's phenomenal in the ring, but sometimes his promos are a little left wanting, and I felt like that was kind of the case on Dynamite. There was a BS reason why the Young Bucks helped in the first place, and then you have this, you could tell he was trying to break the fourth wall, trying to pull the curtain down, if you will, but it came off too little inside. Like if you weren't in their circle, it was kind of an inside joke that nobody else got. So it kind of fell flat in my opinion. Of course, you had to have Max Caster coming out doing his open challenge, and I get they're kind of poking fun at, you know, the whole John Cena open challenge, but this time he's going to lose every time. Kind of what Kurt Hawkins did when he was in WWE. They're kind of rewinding that, only, in my opinion, a little less charismatic individual. I like Max Caster's intro because he does something different every time, and he's a decent worker. Good worker. But I don't know. That's TV time. I feel like that could be going to something better. I mean, I didn't get the whole thing, but we did get the return of his former partner and Anthony Bowens after injury, coming back, looking healthy, healthier than ever, looking great. Great for him. And of course, he comes out and squashes Max Caster, and it was kind of what you expected. But in the hindsight, on the brighter side, we did get Anthony Bowens back in the ring. It's always good to see a brother get back in the ring, or sister. Just to see everybody healthy, making a living, doing what they love to do. That's always good to see. So, Limelight, we got Anthony Bowens back. You got Nick Wayne and crew. I'm not completely sold on Nick Wayne yet. I know he's young. I know he's still getting his feet wet in the business, so we got to give him time. I will say he's got a lot of confidence for somebody who has not been on a national stage that long. He's very comfortable in his skin, which is good. You need to have that. You need to be able to be believable in what you're doing, and even if it doesn't equate to us that you're actually going to win the match, if you believe you will, that's great. You know, that's wonderful. But him and crew taking on Air Fox and Top Flight, you know, it was high flying. It was a good spot match. I like those from time to time, and when people stay in their lane and know what they're good at, more power to you. Of course, Nick Wayne and crew being the heels, cheap shots here and there, they get the win. There you go. Do get a good match in the Will Ospreay Kevin Knight. Probably not best match of the night, easily. I I just really thought that was unbelievable. But other than that, won't go too much into it. I just really wasn't big into Dynasty. That was my fault. Anyway, moving on. Monday Night Raw. And I do apologize. I might have said Dynamite. That was supposed to be Dynasty. Monday Night Raw. Start off, we get Adam Pearce out in the ring. He's going to go ahead and add Rhea Ripley into the match like we had all expected, officially. Everybody's signing. And, of course, we get to Bianca Belair, almost a heel, not a heel. She's still kind of on the fence. I think everything that's going on with Jade Cargill and Naomi is going to cloud her judgment in a lot of ways, and I think that's what's kind of taken her out of this triple threat. But then again, that could be the dark horse where nobody's talking about it, because I think everybody's assuming either Io Sky is going to retain because she just got the belt, or Rhea's going to get it back because she just lost it. I think it's kind of foolish to change the title right now. I think Io needs to keep it. I think she deserves to keep it. But I don't think giving it back to Rhea right now. I think Rhea's got big enough character, enough charisma. She can carry the women's division without, kind of like what The Undertaker did. He carried the men's division without the belt many, many years. Didn't need it. He's more of an attraction in the sense that he is so different from everybody else's character. And in all respect, that's what Rhea Ripley has going for her. She is so different from every other female on that roster in so many great ways, in all the great ways, that she doesn't need to have the title all the time. It can happen here and there. I just think either keep it on Io. I don't think it makes sense to put it back on Bianca Belair right now. I think she needs to be tied back up into the triangle with Jade Cargill and Naomi, because, you know, that match is going to be coming up at WrestleMania, and you can't tell me that it's going to be a one-off and the storyline's over. Otherwise, that's kind of lazy writing. So you kind of need something to go on-off from that. And I think that's where Bianca Belair kind of gets thrown back into that triangle, and we can get at least 1-2 more pay-per-views out of that, draw some more money with some rubber matches, and really go with it. So I kind of think they need to, I think that's why they put Rhea in there, because it may not be safe to give Bianca the loss, but you don't want to change the title. It's tricky, and that's where triple threats come in handy. You got the stool pigeon that'll take the fall. So you got that. She's going to be at WrestleMania now. Triple threat, women's world championship, which I'm looking forward to that. Still going to be a good match. Hopefully that's how they go with it. Then we wind up getting a really good, carrying on with the women's division. Lyra Valkyria, your new women's intercontinental champion, defending against Bayley. And that was a really good match. I think a lot of people thought maybe Bayley would pull it off just because here we are, on the road to WrestleMania, and that would give her guaranteed WrestleMania moment, possibly. But, upset win. Champ keeps the title. Really good win. Get a little bit of a Bayley heel turn there. I don't want to see that again. Not that I'm a huge, I don't really care who's babyface and heel, but timing is everything. That's what I care about. It's got to make sense, because otherwise, poor Big Show, then you're Big Show, and you flip-flop every 2 weeks. But she didn't do it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. They just shook hands, went about it. Another great, match, and I'm loving where this storyline's going. I don't care what anybody says. You got the LWO and Dragon Lee taking on the Creed brothers and El Grande Americano with Ivy Nile as well. I love what they're doing with this. I mean, clearly it's Chad Gable. I know at first a lot of people thought when they saw the silhouette, they're like, oh, it's going to be Rey Fenix, and they're going to kind of, but clearly it wasn't, because Rey Fenix debuted on SmackDown, and we all know it's Chad Gable, but it's hilarious because it is kind of a throwback segment with all of this, kind of the Kurt Angle days, where Chad Gable can laugh at himself, and he can poke fun at himself, but what's even crazier is to see his, not completely, but his moveset has changed, since donning the mask. But I'm loving where they're going with all of this. So yeah, that was an outstanding match. I love how at the end, Ivy Nile slips him the little, metal pad, brick, whatever, and he puts it in his mask. Rey Mysterio tries to intervene. He gives him a little headbutt, and then gets, I can't remember who he hit. whichever one from LWO he pinned. But anyway, foreign object in the mask, classic move. And so now we have Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano at WrestleMania, and I am all for that because I think we all know what's going to happen. Mysterio will more than likely win and unmask poor Chad Gable to everybody's chagrin, unless he is a lot like Kurt Angle and he's got a twin brother somewhere and they can do the body double swap. That would be really cool. I don't see that happening, but yeah, I'm enjoying where they're going with this. I wasn't quite sure at first. It was a little Lucha Underground-ish at first with the vignettes, with him opening the briefcase and trying to see what's inside, but it was a good match, entertaining match. I mean, Walking Wild, you know, he's superb high flyer. Dragon Lee's amazing, but yeah, so now we got Rey and El Grande at WrestleMania. Then we get what, since last week, is the second best moment and true turning point for this whole Jey Uso Gunther rivalry, where nobody was really getting sold on it. And I think that's, you know, you can point the finger at a lot of different directions. Point blank, the last 2 weeks, it has been much better. It has been much more intriguing. I would even say got some people now second guessing, well, maybe this should have been the main event of night one. Maybe they should have moved the triple threat to night two and do a double main event or something. But, you know, the way, you know, Gunther comes out and he's so proud of himself because who wouldn't be? Got the best of your, you know, opponent coming up and bloodied up his brother and got to laugh at him at his expense. And then out comes an absolute no yeet Jey Uso. Absolutely almost Shield-esque, just all black. Of course, he had yeet on the sunglasses, but, you know, come on. But just pan-faced. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a more serious Jey Uso. I wanted to see a Jey Uso who has matured being in the WWE this long, that understanding that just throwing out spits and rhymes and, you know, being cool as shit about it, sometimes that's not going to come across as main event talent. Sometimes you do have to show that serious side just a little bit. Let it shine through. That it's not just, you know, I can do super kicks and a splash and that's me. Maybe I can get serious. Maybe I can wrestle you and beat you. And pretty much what he tells Gunther. But what I loved about that promo from Jey Uso, because this is one of the best promos Jey Uso has given, in my opinion. And probably one of the best promos in recent on Raw. Him telling them that he's going to go pray. Not pray for Gunther, but he's going to go pray for himself. He's going to go pray for the man that he's going to have to become to do what he wants to do to Gunther at the pay-per-view. So that was very, very detailed, very confident, and you know, I'm excited now a little bit more for that match because now it can teeter either way. Now you can go either way. So yeah, they kind of pulled the trigger on that one a little late, but then again, patience pays off. Then you have what people are clamoring is to be probably one of the worst tag title matches in Raw in quite some time. You know, it got built up, you know, War Raiders defending their titles against the New Day. You know, and that would be a good match if it was just a solid match, but then it was kind of confusing. New Day, you know, brings in the chair, introduces it into the match, and then somehow Ivar winds up with it and just clocks him. Like, I get, you know, he's pissed off and he just wants to, you know, but who's the heel? Because it's not a babyface move unless you're an anti-hero, which there's only a few of those that have ever existed in WWE that people actually enjoy. And this is not, you know, War Raiders are supposed to be the baby faces. And I get it, they're Vikings. I get it, they're, you know, going to do whatever it takes, you know, to be tough guys. But it didn't make sense. I think they could have gone a different way of doing it. I don't know, but it was kind of I feel like that what it was just to set it up to go into WrestleMania, which is what they wound up doing anyway. And we'll get to more on that in a minute. But I don't know. I just feel like that segment kind of fell flat. You could tell the crowd kind of, okay, well, missed out on a good match. Then you get a good match, and I love how this finally tied in everything, which I talked about in the previous video, wondering what they were going to do with the IC title and Braun Breaker. Well, we got our answer. Penta taking on Dirty Dom, and you have to know it's going to be Judgment Day all over the place because that's how it is. It's faction. And I know people complain about that, but what would be the point of having all your homeboys around if they're not going to come help you cheat and win all the time? It just defeats the purpose. But anyway, Penta beating Dirty Dom, great match, wonderful match. Couple spots here and there that, you know, unwanted, but hey, live TV, what are you going to do? It happens. But Judgment Day, of course, coming out to attack, and then you get the meme across the universe right now. Braun Breaker knows how to break the internet. Not only did he kill Ice Speed in the Rumble, but now you've got him murdering poor Carlito. That spear, he flew, ladies and gentlemen, he flew feet. He like was horizontal and flew into poor Carlito, and I thought that was one of the best spears I've ever seen, honestly. The way it was taken and the way it was delivered, I mean, everything about it, perfect timing. And then, of course, you know, he goes in and gets the best of Penta. And then who comes up from behind? Finn Balor, who I am hoping to God wins this championship. I know there's a lot of people that say Penta needs it or that Braun needs to keep it. Clearly don't want Dominic to have it. I just don't think he needs that right now. I feel like Finn Balor needs it because then that can really drive that wedge into Judgment Day and move that into another stratosphere, because I think they need to move Braun Breaker on up into the main event scene here soon. Crowd reactions he's getting, the work he's doing, unbelievable. But Finn Balor stands tall, and now we know we have a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Got Braun Breaker, Penta, Dirty Dom, Finn Balor. I love it. Love where they're going with that. I think that's going to be probably one of the best matches of the whole pay-per-view, night 1 and 2 combined. I think that's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 easy. Just the way all 4 of those guys work. And that's going to be, as JR would say, a barn burner right there. And then, closing it out, I said it in the first video, but to recap, in case you did not get to see my first video, I said I just didn't quite 1000% understand why Rollins was in the triple threat for the most part. Like, I understood because, you know, what kind of is transpiring. But, like, Paul Heyman was apparently, like, the centerpiece of this whole storyline. He wanted to get back at Roman Reigns. He wants Paul Heyman in his corner. CM Punk does. And, like, Rollins is just kind of floating out here. Like, what, other than not liking these two, like, why do you have to be there? Why couldn't it just be one-on-one and just, like, have Paul Heyman in a shark cage above the ring like Dirty Dom was? Or put him on a forklift like poor Judy Bagwell. God, don't do that to poor Paul Heyman. He's a national treasure. But I didn't understand until the end of Monday Night Raw. And that's because Rollins, I feel, has an ultimate plan. So he starts berating enough on Paul Heyman and gets him cornered to where he's about to attack. And, of course, that's going to elicit, we assume, either Roman Reigns or CM Punk to come down. Of course, it's CM Punk. Punk comes running down. They get into a scuffle and a melee. And at the very end of it all, Seth Rollins winds up being able to get a curb stop on CM Punk, leaving him lying. And as Paul Heyman dips down to try to take care of him and see if he's all right, Rollins, with one of the best fake stomps ever, performs a curb stomp without performing it, essentially. And Heyman's scared shitless. And then all you see is, now you owe me a favor. That right there. That explains it. There again, great storytelling. Patience pays off. So now they're explaining it. But now, what is the favor? Everybody's going to start asking, what is the favor? What is the favor? My prediction, I'm hoping, well, I'm not really hoping, I'm hoping I'm right. Because if I'm right, it's going to suck just for the sense of not having a key component. I have a feeling he's going to say, my favor is, if I win, Paul Heyman, you have to leave the WWE. Or CM Punk has to leave the WWE. He's going to try to do something to that effect because I don't know what other favor he could have. What's he going to do? Tell Paul Heyman, I want you to come out in my corner now. I feel like that's going to be a little bit lazy. I feel like that's predictable to an extent of that doesn't, like, what's that going to do? I understand if Paul Heyman gets in Punk's corner instead of Roman Reigns, but Paul Heyman has nothing to do with Rollins. Like, you know, he could just easily cheat and help one of the other guys win real quick. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it would pay off to do that. So it's going to be much deeper, and we're going to find out hopefully tomorrow. And I'm excited. I want to see where that one goes. So with that being said, we move on to Friday Night SmackDown. Now, it starts off recapping. We will lose Kevin Owens for quite some time due to injury. And like I said in the first video, Godspeed. Hope you have a full and healthy recovery. Hope you come back as soon as possible. It'd be great, just even if it's just one more match, one more promo. I'll take one more promo from Kevin Owens. I'm hoping he still has some more years. I know that sounds selfish because he is getting to that point in a pro wrestler's career where that decision does become pretty vital. He does have a family. He's made good money, and he's had an outstanding career, great legacy. So just hopefully he has a speedy recovery and we get to see you soon, brother. But we do find out that Randy Orton is still without an opponent. And as Nick Aldis is in the ring, of course, that prompts everybody to hear voices in their head, and here comes Randy Orton. And, or well, he calls Randy Orton out for the fine. Apologies. And of course, Randy Orton, you know, tells him, you know, don't get mad about the RKO. You know, I doubled the fine last time to make up for this time. Now, you need to find me an opponent. And that's where everybody kind of went, meh. Because who comes out, and I'm a fan, but it just didn't, I don't know, it doesn't, feels overdone. Solo Sikoa Tama Tonga come out of the bloodline. The new bloodline, if they're still going by that. It's kind of vague at this point, the whole bloodline situation. But, so Solo comes out. I don't know if that's going to be our WrestleMania match for Randy Orton. I was kind of hoping for Nick Aldis. I still think that's, if it's possible, that's what they should do. If Nick Aldis is healthy enough to get in the ring one more time, you cannot tell me as a former performer that he wouldn't want to lace those boots up just one more time for WrestleMania against Randy Orton. Kidding me. Even if it's a 5-minute basic squash match, it would be almost every man's dream that's ever been a wrestling fan, I mean, it's WrestleMania. And they set it up with the RKO the prior week. And I'm kind of hoping we see something this next Friday that says otherwise. Because if not, I have a feeling we're going to see Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa for WrestleMania. Not that it'll be terrible, but it just feels like a rerun. It feels a little overdone. And I know they have a history, but I think Randy Orton's chemistry would work better with someone like Nick Aldis. You know, Solo needs to be more explosive. He's much like his, you know, cousin Jacob, and it's like he just needs to be more explosive. And with Randy Orton, to me, it just doesn't work. But we also find out another WrestleMania match, and they had a gauntlet for the #1 contenders to the women's WWE Tag Team titles. We weren't sure if we were going to get a match for Liv Morgan and Raquel, but we do. And it is from the prior week's aforementioned Lyra Valkyrie and Bayley. After Bayley's heel turn, decides, no, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to team up. And they wind up winning. So WrestleMania, we'll get that for the tag titles, women's tag titles, and should be a good match. I don't think Bayley and Lyra will win necessarily. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. I think that might be when we get our Bayley heel turn, because she'll probably cost them the match somehow. Like Lyra will get pinned or whatever, and then Bayley will probably turn, set up a program for the IC title, which ain't going to be a bad thing. But I kind of see where they're going with that one. And then we get Drew attacking Priest. Yeah. They're kind of taking this one a little slow as well. But there again, you don't want to pop the bubble too soon and then try to drag out what you've already done. It's kind of hard to do that. So, of course, good storytelling. But yes, this time Drew gets the upper hand on Priest. Ever since Priest smashed him on the windshield and got legit, you know, glass in his eye. That had to suck. I've had metal in my eye, but not glass. So they're trying to set up their WrestleMania match quite nicely. I think that'll be a really good match. Those two big dudes, man. I mean, it's going to be hard hitting. That'll be fun to watch. Ray Phoenix in his second match in WWE, coming in and taking on Berto, formerly Humberto Carrillo, now just Berto, which I get. They're always messing with your name. Great match. I think Berto's underrated. He's a good worker. I really would like to see Los Lotharios maybe get a little bit more of a serious push. I keep seeing Andrade talking to him, and I would love to see Andrade take those two, let Santos Escobar do his own thing, go back to just being a singles wrestler, and just, you know, I want to see them win some tag titles. They put on great matches. But Ray Phoenix wins because it's Ray Phoenix, and it's the second match in WWE. He's fighting Berto. He's going to win. But another phenomenal match. And of course, you get Santos Escobar trying to force Berto to shake Ray Phoenix's hand afterwards. You know, you be the good sport, be the bigger man. You lost, but, you know, look who you lost to. And that could take a shot at a man's pride. It's like, yeah, I lost, but you don't have to remind me. You don't have to say that he's better than me. You know, I just lost to him. So it's like, thanks, man. So he walks out of the ring, blows them both off. And then, of course, Santos Escobar, oh, thank you, Ray, thank you. And interesting to see what they might do with that. You know, we'll see. But there again, great match. Zelina Vega takes on U.S. champ Chelsea Green. Winds up winning by DQ, of course, because they don't want to switch the belt for the pay-per-view in case there's a match last minute. I love what Chelsea Green's doing with the Women's U.S. Championship. You know, at first the whole Karen gimmick was a little bit much to get used to, but her dedication, she's pulling it off. She does a great job. Great worker. She's always been a great worker. A couple ill-timed injuries just kind of held her back, but I think that was for a good thing. Everything happens for a reason, and I think now was a perfect time for her to shine. Them introducing the two women's mid-card championships worked out perfect for her. So glad to see her doing good. Big fan of her. Cody cutting the promo with all the classic titles. I loved that as just a fan because you don't every day get to see them displayed like that. And it was so cool. And I loved how he went through each one and talked about a specific superstar, that more or less defined that championship belt. And it was another great Cody promo. And you know, it says something to his abilities, that knowing that he's working with a part-timer, much like Cena used to have to do with The Rock, having to carry half the program because they're not there half the time. Cody's just great at it, you know. So it just goes to show you he is taking that mantle, that spot as QB1, as they're calling him now. And yeah, so that I'm excited to see how they go out with that one. Another interesting... So Tiffany Stratton taking on Perez, wins the match as we all figured she would. You know, WWE Women's Champion going into WrestleMania to defend. You're probably not going to use a televised non-title match. But after the match, gets attacked by a very pissed off Charlotte Flair because of what had happened the week before with the infamous female pipe bombs going off in the ring. I'm glad to see Tiffany Stratton is that much of a professional, because it does take a lot to trust somebody else with your body and allow them to pretty much beat the living shit out of you. And knowing that other person could at any moment take liberties and cash in a receipt anytime they wanted to, just goes to show you how professional she is. So I hope they keep the title on her, and kudos to you, Tiffany Stratton. Way to keep your head high. And then we finally get what was led up to at the beginning. I forgot to lean in that when Solo came out, of course, LA Knight came out to help. It's LA Knight. They had to find something for him to do. And so, of course, he comes out and says, I'll tag with Orton to help take out the Bloodline again. Of course, you get that tag match later on with them two versus Solo and Tama Tonga. And pretty good, decent match. You know, entertaining. But there again, we've kind of seen it quite a bit. And, of course, LA Knight and Orton win. And that's when Fatu made his presence felt and lays out LA Knight, licking the belt. I love how he did that, held it up, just gave it a big old Samoan tongue job. And, but very, very excited to see if they will pull the trigger and give the title to Fatu. I think Jacob Fatu needs it right at this moment just to keep that credibility going because, you know, they took the tag titles off of him, and I get that because of what had happened with Tongaloa, but he's earned this. That man has worked his ass off since he's gotten there, promo-wise, in-ring wise. You know, you can tell he doesn't say no to whatever they tell him to do, and he does it with grace, and he makes everybody look good. And I really hope they give him the belt. So, that being said, brings us to what we have so far with, what, a week to go or so? Left of the road to WrestleMania. This is our confirmed card as of right now. Night 1, we're going to get the rematch. We talked about it earlier, we come back to it. So we're getting the rematch with the War Raiders and New Day for the World Tag Team titles. I understand a little bit now why they did what they did on Monday Night Raw, but like I said earlier, I just wish it seemed a little lazy. I just didn't get it, wasn't me, whatever. So we're going to get that rematch for the tag titles this time. I'm pretty sure they're going to pull the trigger and go ahead and give it to the New Day. If they don't, I mean, they might as well just split the New Day up and let them go do their own thing. Because at this point, if you're going to keep them together and make us believe that they're supposed to be taken serious as a credible tag team, give them something for people to give them a reason to hate them basically more. Because they've done some things that have made them vile and evil, but if you give them the belts, they can do so much more to agitate people. So I think they needed, the War Raiders, I love the War Raiders. But there again, good heels need to be chased by baby faces. So give them the belts. Make a good program out of this. Then you're going to have what I predict is going to be a really good match. I'm hoping it's not a one-off like we talked about a minute ago, but Jade Cargill versus Naomi. This is where I'm hoping there's some type of no contest. Because I don't really want to see Jade Cargill come out and just squash match. To me, it's not going to be worth the payoff. This woman took you out for months, and y'all been going back and forth. I want to see a good back and forth. Because Naomi has grown in the ring with her abilities, and I want to see them showcase that. Jade Cargill's always had something there, and she's gotten better as well, but Naomi leaps and bounds. She has definitely improved since she's gone to TNA and come back. In all honesty, so excited to see that one, see how they play that out. Then, like we just mentioned a second ago, we have LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. Hoping they pull the trigger on that one. If they don't, I love LA Knight, but if there's no shenanigans, Jacob Fatu has to win. And if there's shenanigans and people come out and there's a kerfuffle, of course, I think you can pull the easy, believable aspect of LA Knight winning, but Fatu's on a roll lately, and I think he needs to continue that roll right on through WrestleMania. Then you've got the aforementioned Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's title. Once again, I was a fan of Charlotte Flair when she first came in, and then, I don't know, it got complacent with me, kind of like Ric Flair after a while. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. When you work the same match so many times, certain fans pick up on that. When things don't seem to change that often, you can pick up on that. And I think the fans are just tired of seeing it. I felt it was just forced down everybody's throats for so long that there's a bad taste of Charlotte Flair in our mouths. And I just hope they keep it on Tiffany Stratton. Apparently it's Tiffy time. She can keep having wardrobe malfunctions. We won't keep having titty time. So, anyways. And then we get our Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano match, which I'm excited to watch because I love Lucha Chad Gable. Jey Uso and Gunther for the world title. Like I was talking about earlier, Uso stepped it up with that last promo. I'm very excited to see the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania to see if they get another shot at it, because it is heating up and it is interesting because now I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen now. Now that should have been the main event night one, but the actual main event night one, as it stands right now, as it's being advertised, Rollins versus Reigns versus Punk, with another favor looming in the air that nobody knows what's going to happen, what kind of stipulation, what could come of this. Nobody knows. So we'll see. And that's going to be an interesting one because I talked about it in the last episode. Virtually, I feel like the only person that can afford to lose this match is Rollins, and I hate to say that because I love Seth Rollins, but if you look at it, I think it really kills Roman Reigns' credibility right now to lose. Punk has kind of been on a roll. I don't think it would hurt him as much. I think he has strong enough character that I think he could pull from that. I know everybody would say, well, you got to give him his one WrestleMania main event. You got to give him a victory. That wasn't the favor. The favor was getting me the match. So I just think Rollins is really the only guy, that needs to take the pin. Anywho, night 2 supposedly we'll start off with the triple threat for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky, the champion, defending against Rhea and Bianca Belair. Talked about it earlier. I really think Io needs to keep this. She's not had the title again for very long. And I think the crowd loves her because she's an amazing performer. Much like Asuka, I love when she does her promos in her native language and just expects everybody to know what she's talking about. When they don't, she gets louder and angrier. I love that. But great in-ring work. She can work with anybody. And I just think it's a little too soon to take it back off of her. I think there needs to be a funky finish. And this kind of plays back to the Jade Cargill-Naomi match. I think one of those two are going to kind of play a card in that to cost Bianca the match. Possibly Naomi again. Or it could be Jade if she finds out some more information, like maybe Bianca was involved in it all along. We don't know. Speculations. But, triple threat for that title. Hoping Io Sky keeps it. We've got our IC title match that we finally got confirmed. Fatal 4-Way. Interesting. I love multi-man matches. To me, it creates such more dynamic when the right people are involved. That's why I've always been a great tag team wrestling fan. I love tag team wrestling. But Braun Breaker versus Penta versus Finn versus Dirty Dom. It's going to be interesting. A lot of interesting styles there. Yes, you have two luchadors, but Finn Balor's a completely different machine, as is Braun Breaker, so that's going to be very interesting dynamic to see what kind of movesets we're going to see. Then that's the other thing I love about multi-mans, because you get some very interesting moves going in there. And then you get the big Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre match. This has been building since before the Rumble, WrestleMania last year. And then again carried on at the Rumble. Every time Drew's life seems to be going this way, apparently Damian Priest is there to screw it up, as Drew would say. So, interesting to see. I don't mind this program. I enjoy it. 2 good promos, 2 good workers. If it looks great, keep it going for another pay-per-view or 2. See where it goes. We're still in the air about Randy Orton. We still don't know. They've teased it now being solo with him coming out. But then again, that could have been, just kind of a fish bait, just to see if the crowd would react enough to it. I don't think they did, so I don't know. They've already taken it completely off the card. So it doesn't even say Randy Orton TBD anymore. It's just they completely took it off. So we may get a different match in place of it, or we might get an opponent for Randy Orton. I hope it's Nick Aldis. I hope he is medically able to wrestle still. I believe he is. I just believe he wanted to take a step back once he left NWA and really just be an on-screen personality. I love Nick Aldis. When he was in TNA as Magnus, when I first noticed him and became a fan, I love his throwback style of wrestling, and I loved his run in NWA. Him with the NWA Championship, the 10 pounds of gold, the way he carried it, the way he carried himself, just total throwback. Fucking love that. But But I'd love to see him lace it up one more time at least. And what better way to pay respect to someone like Nick Aldis and say thank you for your career and thank you for everything you've given us once you have your WrestleMania match. And against a legend and Randy Orton, no less. So they've given less to better people. So hopefully that happens. And then we get a match. I don't know how some people are taking this one. Me, I could go either way. The only way I know it's going to work is just because AJ Styles is involved. And he's phenomenal. And we know that. He made Shane McMahon look good at WrestleMania. So it should not be hard for him to make Logan Paul look good. I don't understand why this is the outcome, but we're going to live with it, and we'll watch it, and we'll deal with it, and we'll make the best of it. But it just, I don't know, it seems like a filler match, and I know they're probably just trying to give AJ something to do. I just feel like he deserves better than Logan Paul. AJ Styles is easily one of my top 3-4 wrestlers of all time, and it's a sad one. And then, as I talked about, we found out on SmackDown, Liv and Raquel now know they're number one contenders in Lyra and Bayley. We'll see how that goes. I'm predicting, of course, Liv and Raquel hold on to them because to me it wouldn't make sense to take them off. And I could easily see Bayley doing a heel turn and starting a program with Lyra permanently for the IC title. I think that's the way to go. It was a great match. They got good chemistry, so hopefully that's what they do. Plus, that would give Bayley a chance to become a Triple Crown. And then we get the match that everyone is waiting for. Because everybody wants to see what exactly is going to go down. Cody Rhodes, John Cena. I'm not quite sure where they're going to go with this because I feel like in some ways WWE is like this much painted themselves in the corner. Like barely. Because, I mean, it just feels that way to me. Because if Cena loses and there's no outside interference, no shenanigans, if the final boss doesn't show up and it's just Cody and Cena loses, he's going to look like the biggest piece of shit. That heel turn would be almost for nothing. Now, if there are shenanigans involved and Cody wins, he'll pull out the whole Super Cena moment and still win the match, then, okay, you know, whatever. We'll get over it. That's kind of wrestling psychology there. But on the flip side, I really don't want to see John Cena take that record from Ric Flair. I have said before, everybody has their opinion, everybody has their favorites, everybody has their least favorites. And if I could ever pick a least favorite wrestler, it is pretty much a two-way tie. I don't know. Virgil might be the worst wrestler ever. Three-way tie between, and I know I might get some grief for this, but hey, we can make this an episode as well. 3 worst wrestlers ever. Virgil, John Cena, Hulk Hogan. 3 moves of doom. It's just terrible. So I really don't want to see him take something away from one of the truly greats ever in Ric Flair. I know I'm going to get comments about this, but I'm sorry, John Cena is not one of the GOATs to me. He was not organically created by the fans. You know, fans never liked him. The kids liked him because he, like The Rock said, he wore Fruity Pebbles every day. So, you know, Vince McMahon pushed him down our throats. Nobody really ever wanted a Cena. We didn't ever want a second coming of the Hulk Hogan, but we got it anyway. So I really don't want to see him win that match. I'm hoping somebody comes out to help Cody in some form or fashion to just secure that championship. Plus, you know, the whole, if John Cena says he's going to win the title and leave, it's like, okay, now you're pulling a CM Punk. Like, don't do that. That's cheap to copy. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do. How many run-ins we're going to have because, you know, the last 2 WrestleMania main events in a row, we've always had something. And it's fine and all as long as it makes sense and good. You know, last year it would have made more sense if it was The Rock, the Stone Cold that came down and attacked The Rock. It was Undertaker instead, but if we're all true fans, we all know why. But it's going to be exciting because there's so many different ways they can go with this. leading into the rest of the story, as Cody would say. So, hoping WrestleMania, this one's turning out to be pretty good. I have not seen anywhere, only complaint I have not seen anywhere, and I don't know if they're waiting to pull the trigger for some reason, but there is no match for the WWE Tag Team titles held by the Street Profits. They have #1 contenders. They had a match for it, but they have not advertised that match at all for WrestleMania. So I don't know if it's going to be a pre-show thing, if they're going to save that for Friday Night SmackDown on the go home. I hope not. You tell them that the Street Profits have worked hard for these, but you don't have enough grandeur to give them a match on WrestleMania. I don't know. I'm confused about that one. Maybe if the whole Randy Orton thing doesn't work out, they'll, put them in place to kind of fill that spot so that there's not just dead air on WrestleMania, but we'll see. Other than that, it's looking like a really good card. I'm excited to watch it. Tomorrow night we have Monday Night Raw, so maybe tomorrow night, if not Tuesday, be back again with episode 3. See if we have any more upcoming news coming in for WrestleMania. See if anything happens on Monday Night Raw. Did watch a little bit of Dynamite and Collision. Didn't really go over those. I'll get an AEW episode going one day a week as well. Kind of hit WWE a little bit hard again today, but there again, like I said, WrestleMania season. A lot of storylines really, really coming to culmination, getting ready for the big show. So felt like I needed to kind of hit that again before the next week started. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit like, subscribe, comment. Please comment. Let me know what episodes you want to hear. If you want to hear me talk about Mount Rushmores, favorite titles, has-beens, whatever it is, guys who should have had it. Let me know what you want to talk about. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble on until you guys don't listen to me anymore, which I hope doesn't happen anytime soon. But I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will see you next time.